Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, do we miss Antonin Scalia. He died unexpectedly and left a 4-4 vote in the Supreme Court. And lo and behold, they have affirmed lower court rulings that they were going to overturn with 5-4. It's going to be a mess, but it shows why we shouldn't be in any hurry to rubber stamp the president on his pick for the next Supreme Court justice. Well, one of the most unusual presidential races in history is getting even stranger. Donald Trump is defending his campaign manager against the charge that he grabbed a female reporter. The female reporter rushed the candidate. Where were the Secret Service people who were supposed to defend him? But she could have had a knife, she could have had a gun, she could have had a bomb. But Secret Service did nothing, and so now the aide is being sued. Well, a judge has also raised still more questions about Hillary Clinton's emails. Wendy.
That's right. Clinton could face a stiff challenge from Bernie Sanders in New York, while Trump is backing off from his promise to support the Republican nominee for president. Ephraim Graham has the story.
Republican frontrunner Donald Trump is defending his campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, who faces a criminal charge of battery for grabbing a reporter's arm. This video from a Trump rally shows Trump with reporter Michelle Fields by his side. Lewandowski grabs her arm, pulling her back. Trump calls the charge unfair and says Lewandowski will continue as his campaign manager.
Yes, he will. I looked at the tape. It's my tape. It was one of my places. I have great security and great security cameras. I gave the tape. And frankly, if you look at that, people have looked at it. In fact, I just left another area of Wisconsin. We had a whole big meeting with a whole group of people, big audience, tremendous audience. And they're all shaking their heads. Give me a break. Give me a break.
Other candidates, including Trump's rival Ted Cruz, also weighed in on the controversy.
Look, it shouldn't be complicated that members of a campaign staff should not be physically assaulting the press.
Trump is also making waves for backing out on his pledge to support whoever the Republican nominee is for president.
No, I don't anymore. Look,
you don't?
No, we'll see who it is.
Cruz says he will support the Republican presidential nominee even if it's Donald Trump, but he said he doesn't expect that to be an issue.
Let me tell you my solution to that. Donald is not going to be the GOP nominee. We're going to beat him.
Meanwhile, Democrat frontrunner Hillary Clinton has her own problems. She faces a big challenge from Bernie Sanders in New York. Polls show Clinton leading in the Empire State where she served as a senator. But Sanders has roots there too. He was born in New York, and Politico reports his campaign has outlined a new strategy for doing well there by targeting key districts to boost his vote. And another judge has raised questions about Clinton's handling of her emails. Judge Royce Lambert called her use of a private email server for government business extraordinary in an order filed in federal court Tuesday. And he said there was evidence of government wrongdoing and bad faith in the issue. And this wild campaign season may not be over, especially for the Republicans, until the convention, with a potential contested convention for the Republicans still a possibility. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
This is the greatest democracy on earth, and we are acting like a banana republic. Doesn't it make you sad to think of this great nation that's supposed to be the leader of the world? That's what happens, though, when you lose your principles. We have gone away from the Bible as our principle. We don't acknowledge the fact that God is the authority, and the Supreme Court has led us down a primrose path that is leading to trouble. And here you've got this melee going on, and you have, on the one hand, a socialist who looks like he may be winning for a major party, taking us to socialism with the 90% top income tax possibility. And on the other hand, you've got this incredible thing going on, and somebody who said, well, I'm going to support the party, now says, maybe I'm going to start a third party, and the next thing you know, it's in chaos. I'm not happy. So if there's ever a time we need to pray for this nation, this is it. Well, in other news, authorities in Memphis are investigating why a man showed up at a megachurch armed with 2 guns and a bag of ammunition. He came on Easter Sunday. John Jessup has that story.
Fortunately, Pat, the security team at Bellevue Baptist Church detained the man and called the police. This is the same church CBN News visited in 2014 to highlight its state-of-the-art security system. Charlene Aaron has more.
Members of Bellevue Baptist Church are counting their blessings after an armed man entered their sanctuary during Easter morning service. About 4,500 people were in the sanctuary for the 11 a.m. service when 31-year-old Marcus Donald arrived. A church hostess noticed a pistol sticking out of his pocket and alerted a church minister who called church security. Bellevue Baptist, one of the largest churches in Memphis with more than 30,000 members, has long been ready for such an event. In 2014, CBN News highlighted Bellevue in a story about church security.
The church I went to as a kid only had about 200 people, and we knew everybody that came through those doors. But when you've got a church this size, this is almost like a civic center. And it's hard to imagine the challenges that would go with trying to keep this many people safe and keep an eye on everybody at the same time.
Andy Willis heads up the security team, which includes more than 100 paid and volunteer staff.
Today, churches that speak the truth, that teach and preach true biblical principles, they draw a lot of attention because there are a lot of components of society today that don't want to hear that are absolutely against that. As a church security team, we have to be prepared for those kinds of situations to intervene and to protect the flock.
Willis said the church also relies on state-of-the-art cameras.
A camera system that constantly monitors and records activities on campus is extremely important. They're not very expensive, and the thing that you get is you get the protection in a liability situation that you won't have if you don't have it.
Police said Donald told them, quote, people in society are a threat to him and that he must be vigilant.
Clearly, he was disturbed a little bit. I'm not a doctor, have no idea what the diagnosis for him is. But he certainly had the potential to do a lot of, really bad stuff.
Members are thankful that no one was hurt.
Everything was all right in there. Nothing went on inside the sanctuary. Everything was okay.
I heard a disruption in the church. Didn't hear anything about anyone being armed.
It's bad.
The pastor said we had a disturbance.
Meanwhile, Donald, whose mother attends the church, was arrested without incident, and police are continuing their investigation. On Twitter, church leaders posted, "Nobody was injured. Praise the Lord for his protection." Willis said Christians need to trust God, but be prepared.
The biggest thing that makes me cringe whenever I speak to other churches about security is they will say, we don't have security. We're just praying that nothing happens.
The day before the incident, members also held a prayer rally for protection over the church.
Just like every Saturday, a very large group of people showed up here and prayed over every seat in the sanctuary, prayed over the hallways and the classrooms, and we prayed for souls to be reached. I mean, we prayed for the message of Christ to get out. Additionally, I mean, these individuals that come every week faithfully, led by our pastor, Steve Gaines, prayed for safety. We prayed that no harm would come to this place.
Prayers that were heard and answered. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Thanks, Charlene. The Supreme Court is looking at a compromise ruling in the showdown between the Little Sisters of the Poor and the Obama administration over birth control. The compromise could allow those seeking contraceptives to bypass the religious organization and receive birth control directly from the insurer. This would keep the nonprofit from having any involvement in providing birth control. Meanwhile, the absence of the late Justice Antonin Scalia is having a major effect on the High Court. The justices split 4-4 in a case that forced government employees to pay fees to public sector unions, even if they aren't members and don't like how the union spends their money. The split gives the government unions a win because the lower court's ruling stays in place. And Pat, it is believed Scalia almost certainly would have sided with the employees against those unions.
Well, they were ready to overturn that case. I mean, here's the deal. The law was saying that you have to pay dues to a public service union, whether you agree with what they're doing or not, Whether you're part of the union or not, you've got to pay dues regardless. I mean, it's taxation without representation. It flies in the face of all of the principles of this nation. And the fact that this was a 4-4 decision is just absurd. But it shows what a razor edge. The Supreme Court isn't a judicial body anymore. No way. It is a political arm. It is voting Democrat, voting Republican, voting conservative, voting liberal. It is not any longer, is it a dispassionate body that is determining the law. You wish it were, but it's not. And therefore, when you put somebody on it, it's like a political group. It's like a board of supervisors. You need a majority to win. So in that thing, you've got to have another member on there, and it's vitally important. This election, as Ted Cruz has been saying, he's right, it's going to determine the Supreme Court of the United States, not to mention the Senate and all these other bodies. But it's we're on again, it's on a knife's edge. John.
Pat, an asteroid or comet just slammed into Jupiter, and 2 amateur astronomers caught it all on video. Here you can see Jupiter as recorded by Gerrit Kernbauer, an astronomer in Austria. He accidentally recorded a visible impact on the planet. Jupiter is often hit by space rocks because of its strong gravitational pull. Slate magazine points out Jupiter's gravity will pull in space objects 5 times faster than they would hit the Earth. Astronomers have long been concerned that an asteroid or comet could slam into the Earth and cause potentially enormous damage. And Pat, I believe this is something that has concerned you too.
Well, of course it has. There's a comet that is coming closer to Earth, but see, here's the deal. When God was setting up this solar system, one of the protections we have is Jupiter. Jupiter's like a big brother out there, sucking these things with their gravitational phase that would be coming against Earth. And we are protected. One of those items that hit Earth hit Jupiter was several times bigger than Earth. It would have demolished this planet. But instead of hitting us, it hit Jupiter. So Jupiter is up there. I mean, you know, we've got the sun, we've got the moon, we've got all these things, but it's all in balance. And if there's ever a thing that shows the existence of a creator, this is one of them. Wendy.
Fascinating. I didn't know that about Jupiter.
Yeah, it's like a big brother. He's up there, you know, pulling these spaces. But there was a great big a meteor, I guess, that went into Jupiter. It hit it big, but it was several times larger than the Earth. If it hit this planet, it would have been the end of us.
That would be the end.
Amen. So one more thing you can thank the Lord for.